My name is Deborah Roberts Liebert.
Okay, I'm Madeline Marsh. I spent all my adult life here.
My name is Ronnie Jones. I was born on St. John. I've lived there for 22 years and then I left to go to college.
My name is Albert Christian. I'm a sixth generation St. Johnian on both sides of the family.
I'm Robert O'Connor Jr., native St. Johnian, educated here, some years on the mainland.
My name is Edmund Roberts. I'm actually retired, but I'm involved in a lot of things here in St. John.
Good morning, my name is David Marsh. I'm a local St. Johnian. I've lived here all my life with the exception of a few high school and college years. Grew up in Coral Bay as a child, went to the Coral Bay School.
My name is Hilda Anthony. I'm a born St. Johnian. I live over on the south side of St. John, close to the Salt Pond.
Well, my name is Pastor Reginald Joseph. I am the pastor of the Christopher Baptist Church and the president of the Baptist churches on St. John. I'm also the principal of the St. John Christian Academy.
I'm Father Anthony Abraham. I have been here maybe about 6 years plus, working on the most beautiful island in the world, St. John.
Okay, my name is Donna Roberts. I'm the fifth generation of the Roberts here on the island of St. John. I was born in St. Thomas, but raised in Carolina Estate, Lower Carolina.
My name is Kenneth Prince, son of Herman and Euphemia Prince, who live in St. John all their lives.
Aldria Lorraine Harley Wade. I really grew up in East End, but Coral Bay was the hub.
Okay, name is Henry Powell. Born Virgin Islander, born in St. Thomas, raised in St. John. Just went to St. Thomas to be born, basically, because I'm from St. John.
My name is Lucia Roberts Francis, and I am a sixth to seventh generation Roberts and Nurkit and Samuel. So I'm all those things wrapped in one from the island of St. John.
I'm Wayne Chinnery, born in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, with considerable ties to St. John, especially in the southern area, beginning at Coral Bay and going towards John Foley and Mandal.
My name is Kurt Marsh Jr., born and raised in St. John, Coral Bay native, so this is close to home.
My name is Anne Prince Hendricks. I was born right here in this home 66 years ago, really. And I like to refer to myself as a sixth generation St. Johnian.
My name's Sharon Roberts. I was a teacher for 39 years. I taught here on St. John for 10 and had a house here for 45 years.
My name is Kenneth Marsh. My family came here back in 1855 to work, my great-great-grandfather, to work for the gentleman at Cinnamon Bay. He married to a slave lady daughter at Reef Bay, had 4 kids. I'm the descendant of one of the boys. I'm the 5th generation Dom. Born and raised in Coral Bay. Ever since I know myself, I live right by the harbor. So I am Coral Bay itself.
The native St. John population, are the ones that if you consider yourself, in the community, that you should be going to sort of get their view and their pulse. What was it like before I got here? What was it like before you were born? What was it like for your parents? What do you want to see in this community, in 15 or 20 years?
My generation, we go back from like in the 1700s. When the Aquamo tribe, the Akan people, when they come through, well, some of us are ancestors. We are descendants of those individuals.
We used to come down here and catch the American call blue crabs. We call them shelligo, shellfish, conch, pickerels.
Always get a lobster out in the harbor, and if you go further out, like you're going closer to the shipwreck,
You see, you have more conch out there in the ocean than a lot of places here around this part of the world, you know.
We used to even collect oysters, mangrove oysters, in Coral Bay Harbor before they became illegal to collect, because it was supposed to be endangered. But it was plentiful when we was growing up.
Growing up as a little girl, I love, and I still love St. John. No matter where I go, I want to come back to St. John, and not just any place in St. John, either Coral Bay, because here's where I live, south side of Coral Bay.
Coral Harbor is a beautiful harbor. It was a beautiful harbor. There were a lot of resources along the shoreline that we could go and collect as kids. We spent much of the summer down in the water playing. We would collect small animals, we would fish, we cooked them right on the beach. You know, we did our chores before that, but we went down and we enjoyed this area. It was part of our life. It was like we were part of the environment.
And it's all in my blood. I couldn't help it. I didn't realize my mother used to take me around the seashore lines and collecting wilts, conch, the bush, learn about that bush. If I don't bring the right bush, my mother tell me go back and bring the right bush and come back home with the bush until you bring the right bush. My grandfather had many sugar apple trees down here. I remember as a child coming and getting buckets of sugar apple.
We used to take our mom's Christmas ornament, the hook. We used to take that and go and catch the little whippers. It's snappers when they're very small, but we used to call them whippers. And we used to take that back home, clean it, and we used to fry them over a 3-stone fire or roast them and have them with dumb Johnny cake.
The kids would jump off the wharf, swim. The boys swim, fish off the wharf with their little line. You know, normal things, but it was very pristine, beautiful, blue.
My father had a ground and a fishing boat, and we always had enough and enough to share with the neighbors. I grew up in Coral Bay Harbor. I learned to swim there. I learned to fish there. I learned to collect conch there, wilks.
So we used to leave from the Guy Benjamin School and walk on the harbor from where the dock is. Sometimes we would walk all the way down, or maybe around to Love City Mini Mart and walk back up, because the area was so clean. You know, they didn't have any brush. We didn't have any brush on the harbor side. The mangroves were not there.
And I had a grandfather brother who was the one who rowed the boat from East End to Coral Bay. And if he blow the conch horn and shell and you ain't there, you gonna walk home.
Well, you know, talking about culture, I don't know if my brother would have mentioned who my father was. I found out his name was Herman Prince, and I have a painting in the house right down there of him. That's what he taught in the school system. He was a mason by trade. Initially he worked for Canal Bay when they just opened up the hotel. And he actually taught people cultural arts.
You know, my grandparents, my grandfather was Arnold Anthony. Then they had Otto Anthony. We have Emanuelita Matthias. That's my mom's mom. That's the one I know. She was in a wheelchair, you know. But then it goes back further, and I don't know them detail-wise. But I do know of these individuals and having a lot of land here. All this land from Salpan, all here goes straight down to our Reef Bay, our properties.
My great-grandfather came from St. Croix with Benjamin Roberts, his son Christian Roberts, and then my father, Thomas Roberts. They were on the southeast end of St. John, in Johns Valley. My father and my mother were married, and we lived in one of the first schools in St. John, at the Amias Moravian property when there was a church school.
I've attended the Harrisman School and over at the Benjamin Franklin School, now known as Guy Benjamin School. I work at the Guy Benjamin School as a school crossing guard with the children until I retire.
Well, the house that's in East End is over 150 years old. So that's the tell you, and I lived there. So my father would have been about 98, and he grew up there. So that's how many generations. I'm the last generation because My children have not grown up there. They grew up in New York. My grandchildren also in New York. So I'm like the last generation of family members from East End.
I born right in that valley where Owen Krieger lived. That's where my mother used to live. I born in there. I had a little old house there where my mother delivered me. So I ain't telling you something that I don't know about. I swim there from when I was 2-3 years old. Okay? That's where I learned to swim. Okay? That's the first area I learned to swim. Right there in the harbor. So it's not something that somebody tells me. This is me, Kenneth Marsh, and my family raised right up in the harbor there. Okay?
St. John is special to me. I grew up in Coral Bay. I love Coral Bay. I played in the ocean there in Coral Harbor. We collected food from there. But I would not do that today because things has changed dramatically.
Certainly from a visual standpoint, you know, as a boater and a one-time tourist here, you know, to see derelict boats and sunken boats and engine blocks, anchored to the bottom, and people using all types of materials as moorings, and stockpiles of batteries that have been abandoned. It hurts. It doesn't give you the harbor of Coral Bay, to me, doesn't give me the same feeling that the community of Coral Bay gives.
When we were growing up here, of course, I grew up here in Coral Bay. That was 50 years ago. The fishermen in the town, in our community, used to come to my mother with the fish already, and she just had to pay for her fish, and they would deliver her to her door. Now I can't believe that people in Coral Bay have to go to St. Thomas to buy fish.
25 years ago, 30 years ago, it was much better, because right there by Island Blues, they had a beach, a little beach there. We used to swim there, me and my late husband.
We were able to swim in those areas. Everything was nice and clean and fresh. You could go there, you swim, you get some conch and stuff like that and whatnot. And we were able to do all that. Now that's impossible.
But now that I'm grown and have children and grandchildren, I can't even bring my grandchildren around this bay to play anymore.
The condition of the harbor in the 80s, there were much less boats in the harbor.
When my kids were little, when I first moved down here, the harbor was clear. It wasn't, in the first place, the mangroves didn't stink like they do now. And the harbor itself did not have all these boats. I noticed the other day, you could hardly get into the harbor.
There were no boats and be able to go into Coral Bay at all.
The number of boats is unreal. I've never, in fact, last week when I went there, I said, wow, this place have even more. It keeps getting more and more and more.
Too much boat, even to Calabash Boom now. They're trying to bring a whole thing of boat in there. Sometimes here in Freeze Bay, you may see 1 or 2 boats coming here sometimes. That is not nice to the people that live here. We want to see our beauty in the island. It was always beautiful, and we still want it to remain beautiful, not with a whole thing of boats in the harbor. You could hardly get out with your boat. You have to swim between here and there, and then.
When I was a little boy, Coral Bay Harbor was completely empty. As far as you could look out, you may see 1 or 2 sailboats.
I remember when we used to come in there with barges, 2 boats in the harbor. I sailed in there already in trade winds several times, but they ain't had no boats in there. You could just sail right in the harbor,
The Adela. That's the only boat used to anchor in the harbor. Moses Harley had a boat called the Dawn when they coming to take coal from my grandfather's estate to St. Thomas. That's the only saw. Otherwise, they used to be in East End, and the Adventure, they used to station in East End. Only when they take in the cows out, you see them come down in the harbor.
When I was growing up, there was 1 houseboat in that harbor. and it was built by Mr. Muhlenberg, and then he went on to build boats. What I'm saying, even back there, they did not regulate him. And it's sad to see what Coral Bay Harbor, a beautiful harbor, has come to. There's chaos, there's no regulation, people anchor where they want.
Milton and the boys, they used to fish a lot then, but the water wasn't like how it is now, you know. Didn't have that many boats in there.
Just a generation before me, my father and his siblings and cousins, and they used to go in that bay and, you know, swim and fish and all of that. Now they wouldn't even step foot in it.
Nobody want fish and eat from in this area, and now we know fishes swim all about, but I wouldn't take a line and throw out and fish, not me.
It was good because we used to swim in the harbor from one end of the harbor to the other. We used to go all the way over to the other dock, swimming behind log boats. My father and I used to pick out those ice straws, white ice straws, out of the sand at the bottom down there and eat them. Today you can't even touch them because the water is contaminated. And ain't nobody lobster. I used to walk out to a head right off of Island Blue and pick my lobster out of the reef. I can't do that today because the water there is shut off. And believe you me, I work with Department of Health and Sanitation for 13 years in water purification. So don't tell me that the water is good because the water isn't any good there. I wouldn't even walk in it.
You can't walk in a harbor, swim in a harbor like we did 20 years ago. I'm going to fast 20, maybe 25 years ago. That harbor has deteriorated in the last 10 years, not over 50 years. In the last 10 years, it have deteriorated, which is unheard of in any port in the United States. You go to California, San Diego, all boats, live aboard, are in marina, they pump out, they are inspected. Coral Bays are free for all. And it's really sad.
Those people who really know what the program is, what this project is about, wants this project, because one is going to clean up our harbors. We cannot eat food from the harbor anymore. So it plans to clean up the whole Coral Bay Harbor itself. So for us, that's very, very important because Coral Harbor is critical for our well-being. It's a place of beauty. It's a place where we used to get food from, the marine life, and we knew how to control how much we pull. The beauty of the place is kind of messed up right now. The quality of the water is really not good anymore. The smell that comes from the area is just not good, and it's because we have boaters who don't have these facilities such as a pump out station to pump. Right now we have boaters pumping raw sewage into our waters. That's not right.
Too many things are flushing in the ocean. They're killing everything out there. We need to clean the harbor, make it a better place for everybody, not for me alone, for the whole community of Coral Bay. We're looking forward for that.
I kind of loved it here, so I kind of made it my home, and I've been fishing all my life. Perfect environment to fish out of here. So it's like I want to see my neighborhood clean, and right now I'm not seeing that. I seen it deteriorating every single day, more and more each day goes by.
It's drastically bad in the harbors right now. There's no outlet there. Everything doesn't flush. Everything goes in there. I remember this brother, what's his name? Alvin Newton, man. This brother here used to dive as a child. He used to go there to dive fish and stuff, man. You can't do that no more. Nobody can even jump in the water. You jump in the water, you're going to jump right out. Because everything is the feces, everything is being flushed there up to now. And we need to change, and we need to bring it back where people can able to swim in there again, man. And enjoy our harbor, enjoy the beautiful scenery. We lacking that. You know, it was a pristine place. You could have heard the birds and stuff and enjoy it and see the pelicans come in, see island birds come in, the water, you see the fishes. You could swim any place out there. You can't go swim out there now.
But now you can't control. Anything goes anywhere, and you get garbage all along the shores. That's not good at all. It looks very nasty. And then in 2016, we had bags and bags of things. Now, if there is a fishing area, because I see people coming in with fish at Coral Bay, if there used to be a fishing area, we're not going to get the amount of
catch or the amount of fish that we used to have there, because the lead, for instance, runs away the fish.
If they build a marina, they have to keep it clean. Yeah. The boats don't have to go out and dump.
It definitely will clean up the harbor, because those boats sit there from month to year. They don't go out. So where is the pollution? It has to be in the ocean.
Garbage accumulated in the mangroves by homeless people, and they get run off. Others come in, move right into the garbage, build up more garbage. And
I am happy that the marina is coming in. Number one is because it will clean up the harbor, which is so contaminated with all the sludge and slush and all that stuff that comes from the boats, and all the boats that have sunk in there, which was supposed to have been cleaned up for so long, and it hasn't been done.
With the influx of all that is there right now, the place is a mess. There's no any kind of sanitation in terms of places for people to dump. You know, there's a lot of boats that's there that's some destroyed in storms and stuff like that.
All these boats there, a lot of them abandoned, that aren't regulated. There's no place for them to, take care of their regular maintenance, dump sewage, all of that. So a lot of junk ends up in the bay. Then we have the problem with the smell, because all of it washes into the mangroves and it gets held there. And so, some days you pass there and you need to hold your breath because it's just ridiculous.
One of the main reasons for Summer Ends Marina, I want to see the harbor get clean again, meaning that no one should be afraid to walk in the water. I don't think in the next 5 or 10 years we'll be able to collect and eat out of the harbor like we used to, but the smell and stuff that's going on in the harbor was not there.
So when you have something like a group coming in and building a marina, they have to go to a pump station. It has to be cleaner. They're talking about the silt. Yes, the silt is there and the stink because all the pollution from the boats. I have nothing against boaters, but you have to have some kind of things put in place where you have to have a better environment instead of worse. They're talking about the green, everything is, they want green. Well, you ain't gonna have it if you have boats out there polluting the ocean. The mangroves, the stink that's coming from the mangroves, why? We lived here before with mangroves. We've never had this odor coming from mangroves like that.
There's a certain time of the year you cannot sit down where I'm sitting down now. It's so stink from all the feces that float up and come in those mangoes right there.
The mess that's always along the line of Coral Bay Plantation. I know it as plantation, and it's not very healthy, because I remember one time somebody was saying to me that they were swimming, and what could be coming in front of them when they're swimming. You can't even fish there anymore, and that wasn't good. And having a marina would make sure that those things are taken care of. You'll be able to swim, again, and things like that.
When you come over there by the swampland where the garbage pan them is, right? Jeez, man. They're terrible. And people got to go on it because you got to get from one place to the other,
Yeah, I live right over the harbor. I breathe in all the stench from the boats every day. Every time the wind turned to the west, my wife got to be spraying all the time because the stench coming up in our house.
I don't care where in America you are. You just can't dump stuff anywhere you want and figure that's all right. And there's other people complaining about some of the smells and stuff you get down there. If the Army Corps of Engineers, they all have to do is look around and figure out, well, where are the facilities that these people are using? How are you going to have the amount of boats we have in the harbor that with people living on them? Now, I'm not, and it's not to complain overly about the amount of people that lives on boat. I suppose high rent and stuff in St. John is problematic. But There are people that living on the land. The last place I built, they made me put up a treatment plant because they concerned about waste leaching down into the bay. And if they're not concerned about your septic situation and the land, how are you going to dump waste directly into the seawater? I mean, where's the logic?
But right now, there isn't a outlet for them to do the right thing. There's nowhere for them to tie up. There's nowhere for them to pump out. There's nowhere for them to easily unload things. There's nowhere for them to, to easily provision or to use, especially that western side of the harbor. I think with again, a positive outlet, an outlet that's designed in the right way, I think you'll start to see a change in that harbor for the good.
Having the marina there, number one, it is going to have our water to be clean, not polluted. Look how many boats are in the Caribbean area that is just disposing of the, in the water all the time. And then the other question to be asked, are they paying anything? See, are they paying anything to be there while we here on the land? The government is killing us with the land tax. You have to get this, a permit for this, you have to get something for that. And they're just living there for free and doing whatever it is they want, which is not nice to us at all,
For the most part, what they're thinking is, well, right now, as it is, leave it as it is, because they don't have to pay, they don't have to do anything. But I firmly believe if the marina is there, the place is going to be, to be enhanced, as I said, and then people will have to pay to maintain the place.
Right now, I know it's because they have free. It appears like in the future that you probably wouldn't have free and people wouldn't come, but I don't believe that. When you have good things happening, or you have things that's going to make where you come in make you feel good, you would come nevertheless.
The garbage, the look, the untidiness that is there now, it's so unkempt. Imagine you have like something like anywhere from 70 to 80 yachts that are there, that there's no control.
I'm troubled, or have been troubled more recently, by the fact that people now do all kinds of makeshift things to give them ready access to the land. So you have a lot of made-up docks, floating docks, and I know without permits. The government doesn't come out to check to see who is there. They don't know how long they're there. I see people tied to mangroves. Their vessels are tied to mangroves, all kinds of unseemly things. The place is very dirty because there's no one there to control it. And those things are disturbing to me. But by the same token, sometimes the same people are inclined to tell you they want to save Coral Bay. I look at their interactions with local people, it's little or nil.
And the government isn't doing anything about it. And they should be really spearheading it. I mean, you're gonna have all these boats coming in. Are they squatters? Are they paying rent? Or what have you? But have some kind of organization.
They're just leeching off of us, because half of them, it's my understanding that some of them got multiple boats out there on moorings that they rent out as liveaboards, and that alone there is illegal.
They tell because they own some of the guys that wrote these letters on the internet has 1 or 2 boats out there. The lady Cheryl Colan has 2 boats out there rented out. That's why they don't want the marina coming, because they don't want to pay no boating fee.
Nobody forces them to go and pump out, so therefore everything is done in the harbor. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Everything is done in the harbor. The harbor is a cesspool now. And we can't survive with that anymore. Sooner or later, it's going to be one of the biggest hazards that we have here in the Virgin Islands. You can't have that much boats being there, dumping all this thing in the ocean, in the shore, and feel that it's going to be healthy. It can't. Something has to change. It has to be eradicated.
Having a marina would be the best thing, because at that time you can control. But if you don't have a marina, you can't control anything. Anybody comes and they do anything, you can't control. Then the shore is going to be polluted. If at all you had the area where the banks used to be fishing banks, they're going to get polluted.
There was a few town meetings since I've been home, and we talked to DPNR about what do boats do when they're supposed to release their sewage. And in the harbor, it was told, and the people who have boats know this, that they're supposed to travel out a number of miles and dispose of their waste. But because there's no enforcement, the people have for years, and the boater tells the next boater that comes the same thing. So it's filth. There's no swimming. There's no possible swimming can happen there this time because of all the sewage that keeps getting dropped every day and night in there. So it's terrible.
When the senators came to St. John, I was one of the drivers, and I showed them where I saw the stool floating off the boat in the harbor.
What they are doing in Coral Bay with all these boats and nowhere to dump these things is not nice for our environment. I like to go and fish, but then I have to find places to go and fish, which I don't think that there is any place to go and fish that has not been, the water has not been polluted. I say people go and fish around these different places, but if you all are going to have to be emptying in the water, what are you causing? You know, pollution for us. We go to swim and different things in the water. So she said, well, we went about 70 feet, 70 from the something like that.
The people that are complaining about Summer's End have not done anything to solve the situation because of the fact that the boats that are there that are derelict, the people that complain, they know who left the boats there.
At one point I was in law enforcement, and we had occasion on many cases to come out there. And I see vessels there that have been there for no less than 30 years now. And we can speculate as to some of what goes on in that kind of stuff. If you don't have a customs service, nobody to investigate on board, only God knows what it is.
Well, I really would like to know. I can't understand for the life of me why DPNR has taken such a back seat with all the infractions that are going on in the harbor.
DPNR always says, you know, they don't have resources to regularly go and check. But then if we have a facility there, then we kind of don't give them an option, right?
With a marina, it means a change of life, which they don't want that change. It means maybe the possibility of Customs and Border Protection in here. It means DPNR in here. With their illegalities going on, with living on unregistered vessels and on illegal moorings, who knows if they're having guns and drugs coming in. There's no telling, but I wouldn't put it past them. They don't want enforcement in here.
If that marina come in there, you're gonna have a police station, you'll have a customs station, because I stay there, watch illegal comes in the harbor and drop off there. I watch drugs, people came in the harbor and the cars come up and pick it up right there.
If you had a marina and they had custom and DPNR to monitor what's going on, it would be a lot more logical for us to know what's going on with these boats. We know there's illegal activities. So what are they trying to protect? They're trying to stop a marina because they want to continue their illegal activities? Is that the reason?
The people there that don't want it is the people who pushing these things. You understand?
Oh, yeah. They want to live just like how they live in. They don't want nobody telling them what to do. Yeah. You know, that can't work.
It's not a good situation out there. And for people to justify it, I guess that's why they wanted to stay that way. They wanted to stay the way it is so everybody could do what they want, how they want. And also have people have to move out of there in order to make a living, relocate. Don't give people opportunity. That's why they wanted to stay like that. This thing about saving Carby, save Carby for whom? When all of us leave, he didn't save it for us. He did not save it for us.
What's the reason behind the Save Coral Bay Coalition claiming to save St. John? I wonder what they're trying to save it from. Whether they're trying to save it from themselves. Because they're the ones that causes the problem for which they want to save. The fact that there's plans for a marina, I don't think can be the reason that they want to stop it, because those boats anchored out there is, in a sense, a marina. It's just a different type of mooring.
The people that are complaining about Somerset being coming to develop the area and the marina, those people have been there over 15, 20 years. They have done nothing to the area in terms of cleaning up. The evidence is there. The sunken boats, the type of the mangroves, the place is a disaster. Look at a disaster area, and being a local and looking at my mother and my father and the other people in the area, we are fed up with government and fed up with these people who are there that is doing nothing but are the biggest complainers, and they are the one that has created this mess. They've got to go.
What we have here right now is a disaster. It's that simple. We have these folks that are here, and not only that, there's a lot of them probably doing tours and various things with some of these boats right here. And where is that money going? Is it going back into the infrastructure of this place? The answer is no. The answer is no. They'll say that they're saving Coral Bay. No, they say they're not saving Coral Bay. They're saving their skin. They're saving, they're saving the dollars. Okay, and this is fact. They're saving themselves.
I see signs saying save Coral Bay. But right now, Coral Bay needs saving, not through trying to keep back the marina, but I firmly believe if we get the marina, it's going to help keep the place cleaner and better. Because I myself took a walk already. I took a walk around the seashore, and the place as it is now, it needs cleaning.
When I hear certain people say that they need $5,000 to convince the Corps of Engineers to block something in St. John, I say, why are these people doing this? Why? We don't have 5,000 people. So where are these people coming from that's going to write these letters to the Corps of Engineers to discover? And the Corps of Engineers get all this communication and they think that this is an objection from the people. That's not the case. Those people probably hasn't even seen St. John. You can go on Facebook and you can get all that stuff. In fact, they were going to send a form letter because I was at a meeting. I take it upon myself to go and find out what's going on in the community. And I attend these meetings. Sometimes I'm the only native person on St. John that's in those meetings. And I sat next to some of the people here who are the leaders in this event. And I respect them. I respect them because it's their view. But when you tell me that you are going to select or solicit response from people who haven't seen St. John or live in St. John or who may have visited here for a few days, to block something in St. John that affects my family, the members of my family are 7th generation.
They're not engaged with us. The only time we see them is when they're putting up a protest against a project such as yours. And then, and if you look at something, they're not fighting your project by themselves, and they're not using fair means. Now, let's assume they have a population of 800 people. How then are they able to generate 3,500 petitions? How? 800 people, assuming they're all on your side, is 800 petitions or letters to whomever. But they can generate 3,500 of those. So those are not fair means. You're being dishonest. The only question for me is, why is it so important to you to be so dishonest? That's the question for me. So I look at those things as scans. But I walk there regularly and I'm never engaged by them. If we sit down to play dominoes, I don't see them come to play. If we're playing volleyball. Now, they have activities done on the field, but it's not things we do. And the things we do, they're not involved in as a community. So, save Coral Bay for us, whoever us is. It's farcical.
And I've heard about the letters, how many letters were written, and of course that annoys me because I know that's not 10,000. The 10,000 they don't have 10,000 St. Johnians. We don't even have our St. Johnians don't even live in St. John. They probably live in the States somewhere.
You said save Coral Bay. Well, I never knew Coral Bay was lost. That's number one. So every time I see the sign, I'm like, well, I didn't know Coral Bay was lost. And if it's lost, who lose it? It's showing us. We didn't have anything to do with all the building and all that stuff. We stayed more down in the bottom. All those houses on the top where you have all the slush, it wasn't us who built the houses up there. So it's, it's, to me, this saying save Coral Bay, to me, is just oxymoron. It's just it's stupid. You want to save Coral Bay, then do something that will benefit Coral Bay, not fight it. We're the ones who have to live here. You come in, you go out. We live here day after day after day. And we're the ones feeling the economic pinch.
So how are they going to save Coral Bay? Before them, Coral Bay was in, like I told you, the waters. We were able to swim in those waters. We were able to go there, swim out, get some conch, Wilkes, this, that, and stuff like that. We were able to fish in the waters. We're not able to do that now. So how are they saving Coral Bay? That's the question, buddy, my friend. That's the question.
When I hear save Coral Bay, it kind of like boils my blood, because before you can save Coral Bay, you got to clean Coral Bay, and I don't see it being clean. The garbage you say, oh, we went and cleaned inside the mangroves. No, you didn't. It's still there.
And to say that you don't want a marina, but you're not here smelling the stuff when we have to pass through there. You're not here seeing how much boats out there are impacting the environment. We are here. We are living it. We're smelling it. And it's not pleasant.
I know some of those boats don't move from where they are, because I live right above the harbor, and I can see that a lot of boats, and I know they don't move because there's no way for them to move. I see them there every day, day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out. People living on them, and they're not moving.
Now you're just seeing sailboats that are, wrecked from old hurricanes, sailboats, boats that haven't moved in, over 20 years, it seems like, and just sitting there destroying the harbor, ruining the harbor. It's not a pretty sight anymore.
They have sinking boats in there that sank from Hurricane Marilyn and Hugo. There are some lady that say get a $50,000 grant to clean up the harbor. All they did is clean around the bay area, and the boats are still there in the harbor.
Ever since we had a bad weather, and the boat, they may take up none of the boats, you know. All the boats are down in the bottom. They say they were coming with a crane and big bags to pick them up. They're still right there. You can't sail around in there.
She's gonna get money, or she has money for watershed, and she said she would clean up the place or whatever. Clean up what? She hasn't done anything. Yet I hear that she has supporters against the marina. It's either 1,500 or 15,000, whatever it is. Those people live in St. John, in Coral Bay.
Somebody look at how this thing, they don't take care of it. They have some all mashed up, some still up on the rock from hurricanes.
All those wreck boats have to move. It's the marina. The marina, I think, will only enhance the harbor. I mean, I'm not sure if people have seen the pictures, the sketches, but it's gonna upgrade, you know, Coral Bay.
It's just not the way it should be. And with a marina, everything to me will be in order.
Kind of person, I'm so organized. Maybe I like to see organization. I like to see cleanliness. And like I tell people all the time, and my artist friend says, you know, the physical affects the mental. And when I see the place, it makes me feel, you know, it's a downer, for the lack of a better word. So I would like to see the harbor looking. You know, I know. I guess some people say that it's quaint. I really don't know about that. I don't like it.
I mean, look around. We even don't have a marina. We don't have nothing we can carry our boats. And we don't have an area where we see they having pump out. They go pump out and all that stuff. They got to go flush. They got to go way out and stuff. What's going on with that? That seems like it's on a big standstill for years, more than 20 years. The fish them in the marina are dying. We're losing our reefs and stuff because of lack of maintaining the marinas. I mean, the marine part of our islands, you know, just to touch on it, you know.
Yeah, I said we need a whole big crew to go through this area and clean Coral Bay before we can save Coral Bay. And I don't mind dirtying my hands and chipping in. And like I said before, like when they have the CBCC keeps the Coral Bay clean up, no one goes down to the water's edge in the mangroves. Why? They don't want to dirty their dainty little feet. They don't want their foot sunk in the mud, so they don't know what's in there. Oh, we cleaned up. No, you didn't. You got to go all the way to the water's edge to clean up.
They want a marina because we want to see the harbor try and get back to the we knew it as we grew up here. We don't mind having a marina, but we need to have something where you have order, people cleaning the boats, people going, you know, putting some checks and balance in place. We don't know what's coming in and going out over there because it's open. You have big Homeland Security in Cruz Bay for real, and Coral Bay is open. Anybody come in and go wherever they feel like. So what's the point in Homeland Security? All you do is pick up a safari or have a piece of transportation, you come back into Cruz Bay.
You can't allow so many boats to be there day in, day out, and with no control. It's the only place in the world where you have some kind of activity and there's no control. To the docks, they have illegal docks there. They have illegal moorings. They tie up to the mangroves. All of this don't exist. It's supposed to be illegal. Not only that, but now they are creating another cesspool, and we're going to see it in about a year and a half or more, because they're right across from the harbor in Coral Bay. They're going into Johnson Bay, and there they are starting to anchor, and more boats are coming there. That's not a place for mooring. So they're creating havoc, and if we don't deal with this thing now, we're going to suffer and suffer tremendously.
That harbor needs attention now, not tomorrow. Not next year, no.
Somers End plan to really minimize damage, and they have really done a lot of work in terms of seeing what can be done. The way that they're going about it right now is excellent. I think they have done all the pre-course work, and now they are getting into it. So they know what they're doing, they know what they are dealing with. The other thing that I would like the Army Corps to understand is that the fact that they aren't going to dredge, because we can't afford for them to dredge this place right now because of all the trash and the garbage, the stench that would come from uprooting that submerged, that would be a problem. But we need Somers End for one, basically. We need to correct some of the problems with our boaters. We need to provide that pump out station. We need to provide a safe way of fueling our boaters. We just need to provide services for them too, just like everybody else. And then hopefully that they understand, just like people living on land have to pay these different fees, they will also be willing, because they want to be a contributing member to our society, that they will gladly take up the responsibility and pay their fair share of things. But we need Somers End because it's going to help us revitalize the economy of Coral Harbor, Coral Bay basically, and we need their help in cleaning up and helping us to mitigate the problems with our environment that are occurring, even from all the building that's going on. So the impact from all the building on the hillside will be able to be mitigated in a better fashion with having that marina. And again, the biggest impact with our boaters, non-compliance with pump out and everything would be there. We will have services there that can now be enforced. So it's a critical project for so many different reasons.
Once the marina is built, all liverboat must be in a marina. All liverboat must pump out. And if they're being pumped out and being documented, that harbor should start to clean itself. And that harbor should now be organized with part illegal, not just alien comes through there. Illegal guns, illegal drugs, everything comes through there. There's no authority in that harbor. But with Somers Ends there and what they're proposing, the presence of police officers, immigration officers, homeland would be more abundant.
In government, you only have one area of government in the whole entire Coral Bay, which is the fire station.
Right now, we don't have that much services in Coral Bay. It would bring improved services with public safety, with fire, with EMS. You know, it's a good possibility. Not a good possibility. These things will come. They will have to come to supplement some economic growth.
The Somers End coming in, we see it as an opportunity for Coral Bay, because Coral Bay is our home. That's where we grew up. And we'd hate to see it just going by the wayside, because with all those boats out there, it is gone if they don't clean it up. And you don't have a regulatory agency that's really making sure that they clean it up. I see your group coming in as something who's going to be as God sent for Coral Bay, because you're going to have boats going there, being pumped out. Fine, you have a boat, fine, no problem. But have your boat pumped out, be responsible, paying some kind of fee, something, so that things can keep moving. But if you just want to be free and pay nothing, how is going to survive?
We want to see regulation. We don't want to see a bunch of engine blocks drop, batteries, and all that stuff drop in the harbor. We don't want to see feces washing up on the shore. That's not what we want. That's not what we want. And the marina will help to remedy some of these things.
And there aren't no police protection, like I said before. There aren't no custom area. When my aunt was alive, Aunt Gorda Marsh, she was a custom officer in Coral Bay. She was the post office mistress in Coral Bay. It don't have nobody. Mr. Joshua Stephen, Jeremiah Benjamin, and Mr. Amos Fraser were the 3 policemen who used to work in Coral Bay. And we had law and order. Today we have nothing, because after 6 o'clock, no police protection in Coral Bay. When you call, it's 2 or 3 hours you got to wait. This is ridiculous for a modern area to have that kind of protection. That marina gonna help us, and I want to see it going. Believe you me, me alone, speaking this kind of language, there's a lot of us in church who believe that marina gonna help us and find work for our children and for us. So please let the marina go in.
My thing with Save Caribbean is Save Caribbean for whom? Save Caribbean for who? Are we going to save Caribbean only for who could afford it? Are we going to save in Caribbean, is it only for the people who live in the hills? Is it only for the people who live on the boat? What happened to us? What happened to us who can't have that lifestyle and need the opportunity to live? You know, Caribbean need to be saved for us also. You know, the families, you check the families that have moved away. They have the right to be able to live in Caribbean and make a living. And anybody who don't want them to make a living, you know, that's not fair, it's not right. It's not right.
For years, we've always talked about Coral Bay being the first town that St. John had. And we've always talked about the possibilities. Some of our fishermen and our boatmen for St. John have always talked about having a marina in Coral Bay.
The boat used to come there and bring all the people over to the church. If it's having a dance, the boat used to come in there and bring all the people from St. Thomas, wherever. Yeah, that's how St. John was. Nice, everybody get along in unity and different things. Now, I don't know what it is now at all.
The only way to bring more people in is by boat. And boating is unique in the sense that it uses an infrastructure that can have a low impact on the land side. It can bring additional economics, it can bring additional people without using the same resources that people that fly or drive use. And you know, I think that Coral Bay as a whole could certainly benefit from something that has this type of economic impact, not only in money changing hands through businesses, but also jobs. You know, people are now driving, 25 minutes to work in Cruz Bay, or they're driving to Cruz Bay and getting on a ferry and going all the way to St. Thomas. All of that great culture and St. Johnian spirit is now being, going over to another island, or even worse, leaving the island and going to the States for opportunities. And it'd be nice to see those opportunities here.
I think you have to, when you really look at the length of center line and the time it takes to get from Cruz Bay to Coral Bay, there has to be something in that area that really provides jobs, is going to provide a level of housing and children in order so that we can have schools down there. Because if you look at the Guy Benjamin situation now, the population and the money situation is causing students to have to go all the way to Cruz Bay. So if we had development in that area, it would provide for more kids in that area, it would make it more economical to provide a lot of other services. You talk about people coming into a marina, whether they're going yachting or whether they're just visiting the marina for the day, in terms of the restaurants and the tours and the taxis. It just keeps multiplying in the Virgin Islands, especially in St. John, where you can't really go anywhere else. So the money goes right back into the economy.
I am probably the last person in my family, the same father's side I was talking about, to actually have a home in Coral Bay, because the next generation, they're all gone.
By the time our children are through high school, they leave the island. And that's about the time that they pick up on our culture. When they're much smaller, they have a lot of other interests. They have a lot of other things that they have to concentrate on. And so I see it as losing the best time to teach our young people about the culture.
Coral Bay used to be the main economic center of St. John. And for example, out in that area we had
3 schools one time because of the population. We had a school in Johns Farm, we had a school in East End, we had one in Coral Bay. Now we don't have enough people to even have one school. You know, that shows you how the population has shifted.
Because they have to leave home to go away to make a living. And when they go to that place that they are, they have to adapt to that culture.
And we cannot continue to lose our young people because that's our major resource in making sure they're stimulated and they love their home. So things that can help them, and they can say, one of the saddest things for a young person is for them to be in the States or New York or any other of the other big states. And you say, you ever going home? And they go, no, there's nothing to do at home.
I remember I met a lady who came home for Carnival the other day, and I said, I haven't seen you for a long time. She said, I don't live here. I said, so what are you doing now? She said, I'm visiting. I said, so in the meantime, when you are away, you depend on other people to build a place up for you. And she laughed because it hurt.
The Virgin Islands has been steadily losing child population. As a matter of fact, the Virgin Islands has one of the lowest school population within the last 40 or 50 years. And that's really bad news for us because you want to have a vibrant young population of people. Those are the people that start lives, build houses, cars, send their kids to school, make babies. Those are also the people that populate your bars and restaurants as well too. So making sure that you have a steady pool of talented labor is very important. And it's in St. John, where it's so hard already to make a living, that is very alarming.
In the Virgin Islands, you know, most of the kids, they go to college in the mainland. And so it was really appalling to see that, you know, after 12th grade, they are gone. And, you know, some do come back. But I really feel that even we don't appreciate maybe those that really sacrifice and do come back. And so from time and time, you see that, you know, over and over, people migrating, and it happens right here in my own parish, where every year there's a large percentage of people who will leave for betterment, and they just don't come back.
Most of the people here who even have children, the white people here who even have children, them children ain't gonna live here. Most of them children, they ain't gonna stay here. They're going back to the States.
They're leaving. They're moving out of the area because they're seeing opportunities elsewhere and not in their community. So they're going away from St. John.
And there is a loss because again, we see people taking off. Why do I want to be, you know, because there's no hope. Why do I have to stay in something that where I can find a job? If I go to the mainland, I know I'm going to get a job there. But if there's nothing, what am I coming back to? My kids. I've got 4 kids. Right? 3 of them were born in the Virgin Islands, 1 was born in the States. And that's one of the big questions. Are you going to come back? Dad, why are we going to come back? Why are we coming back for? And what can I say to them? My daughter Rachel, she's starting to be a doctor, starting to be a psychologist and counselor. What am I going to tell her? And her field is teenagers. She wants to deal with teenagers. Great. We have a lot of problems with teenagers, but I think one of the biggest problems is because they do not have many mentoring, anybody to help them and to direct them.
From my personal standpoint, I had 3 children, and all 3 of them were off island. They all were relocated. Now, we have said before that I worked for the National Park Service for many, many years. And there came a point when I said, my wife and I said, that if we are going to provide opportunities for our kids, we need to get them off there, St. John. And so I applied, got a job, and we moved from St. John. There are no opportunities for these kids. If they go to school and they complete their education, there is hardly anything for them to do here in St. John.
There's no room for us. All of our young people leave. By the time they get to high school, they leave. And they cannot find their place back. Even if they went to college and they say, well, I want to come back home and be of service.
To do what? With whom? So we can stand on the side and we can criticize the fact that you pass a group of young men, 15, 20, sitting in the same place every day, seemingly doing nothing. Or to the extent that you can identify their activity, you know it's illegal. And we know it's useless. But the government isn't doing anything to enhance the area, to build it up in the way that it needs to be built up.
But all they are saying now, I cannot go home because there is nothing for me to do. And I think that is why so many of our young people is getting into trouble. Nothing to do. So the only alternative they have to do is to go and deal with drugs, alcohol, and kill up each other. That's all. Nothing else to do. Nothing else to do. You know, which is shameful.
Our number one export is people. We export so many people every year, and as a recruiter, as what I do now, the strange thing is that 99% of them want to come home, but they can't afford to. The jobs are not here. The cost of living is astronomical in terms of being able to move and set back up and enjoy some semblance of the life you did in New York, Miami, or Atlanta, wherever it is you were before. It's almost impossible. And we have to create opportunities to combat that in order to allow people to live by choice, not by their economic pocket.
Most of the youths that stay here, if they don't have a business mind to start their own job, they're on the street using drugs. And this is not the way I want to see my community 20 years from now. More of our young black people, not so black, even some of our continental young guys are into drugs too. Because there's nothing for them to do.
And then you wonder why the kids out there knocking each other down and shooting and or mainly drugs. There's nothing for them to do. The marina, hopefully they'll have some jobs. They'll have a sense of purpose. They can say, okay, I'm going to work and I got a good job, you know. It makes all the difference. But when you have nothing, you look forward to nothing. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. And you know, I really feel sorry for a lot of these young kids because there's no place for them to go. This is their home. When their parents die out, that's where that little property that they left them is theirs. And they're not going to be able to hold on to it. So they're going to sell it to the first person who comes for what, $1,500? Hey, that's more than money than I have in my pocket right now. Go ahead with it. I don't have to worry about the taxes. I don't have to worry about anything. Go with it.
This feeling, even for the people that move out, that some of them will want to come back home. In fact, quite a few of us will contract or make the attempt. Some don't come because, unfortunately, they don't have the foothold. They lose land or family that would keep things together for them. So by the time they're ready to think about coming back, they can't.
Because there's no work. If you don't have work, you can't keep our young people there. Some of our income bring work into the place. There's nothing in Coral Bay now giving our young people a job. Nothing. They have to leave Coral Bay, John Foley, East End, and go all the way to Cruise Bay to work. If some income in there, at least a few of them will get work to do. You know? Let's face it. Who in Coral Bay giving them a job? Nobody. They're bringing in their own people to work. The people have the boats walking in there, in the bars. You know, so the kids can't find nothing to do but smoke dope.
Once you leave, it is likely you're going to hook up with new influences, set a new set of priorities, blah, 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 blah. And if there's nothing to go back home for, you don't go back home except on vacation.
Every little boy, a lot of young boys out in Coral Bay. and every one of them have to come into town to work. Because there's nothing out there to do, you know. You go by the lumber yard, all the little boys are working in the ice plant, every one of them is from Coral Bay.
Look at how many young people in Coral Bay not doing anything. They don't have any job. They don't have nothing. Everybody is leaving the island because they don't have nothing.
This project or this venture is very important to me because I've looked at my generations before me. Everyone in the whole area of the east or the south of St. John had to leave to go down to the West Cruz Bay or Canal Bay or St. Thomas or Off Island to get a job.
The marine industry is very underutilized by our young people because we don't have much offerings to them. And I see where a marina and all of the services, whether it be hospitality or it be engine repair, and all the marine biology aspect of it, is so many different areas that can benefit us in. But also to the pride of knowing that this is something in our community that we can say is ours.
People want to support their families. They want to work. You know what I'm saying? And what Summer-N is doing is bringing economic activity to that area. That means a big difference. You know, if you have to go to Cruz Bay or St. Thomas to work, think of the time, by the time you go travel and get back, the time it takes away from the family. Whereas with economic activity in Coral Bay, look at the time it saves and the amount of time that you have to spend with your family.
That every day people, you know, the local children could really not have to be catching a bus early to go to Cruz Bay, to go to St. Thomas, or what. They could stay right in their neighborhood and see, well, wow, we need that, because you all bring forth that they will have jobs, they'll have, you know, opportunities for the local people.
I'll just go back to internship and scholarship. Two of the things that are prohibitive for Virgin Islanders in terms of expanding who they are and their earning capacity is the exposure. My daughter just was part of a scuba diving program to pick up garbage underwater. I mean, through this experience, she had 6 different certifications, and a result of that is interested in a career in marine biology. She visited the NOAA boat. Now she's trying to start a nonprofit to keep the beaches clean with her fellow students. So just a little bit of exposure does that. So, you know, in this world, you could be the greatest pianist, but if you never see a piano, then you would never have an opportunity to play. So making sure that we have our students exposed, and then beyond the exposure, giving them real work experiences, because the Virgin Islands, you got to imagine, is almost 75% of the businesses that have less than 10 employees. So they don't have the capacity to train, scholarship, and offer internships. So when we have those opportunities, we really have to capitalize on them, because there's not a lot for our youth to actually get involved and get the work experience where they could secure the job in the future.
Most of the young men around here, if they maybe had a scholarship to go into the marine industry, well, how to fix marine engine, computerized engines and stuff like that, they will have a better hand in providing for their family. So if you offer all that program, you're giving people an opportunity to make money for themselves. Like my father used to say, you don't give a man a fish, you teach him how to fish, how he can feed himself forever.
When you look at the fact that they're going to offer training in these different jobs that will come with the marina and provide young people with an opportunity, you know, they're going to train, they're going to get them involved, and then that's just with the marina.
We have a lot of our kids from here that's gone away to school, okay? These young people are wanting to come back and find themselves some sort of a viable type of operation, some sort of job. And they are not able to do that. Why? Because of what's happening, you see.
There is a dire need. Like even when I work, because one of my ministry is working with the young people, and they say to me, Father, there's nothing to come back to. And it really breaks my heart that you know, we are not looking even, you know, on the government level to ensure that, you know, there is employment for our young people here. So they want to come back, but what they're saying, Father, what is there to come back to? And yeah, I think, you know, that is something that when we talk about building a community or building a nation, if you have, you know, the best, you know, leaving, then the country is going to be brain drained.
Oh, it will help young people a lot, because many of our young people right now migrate. By the time they reach college age, they migrate and they don't come back. I believe it's a good thing to get some of our young people come back and really work on St. John and build up the Virgin Islands. I firmly believe that.
I'm glad that you're doing mentorship and environmental. I used to be an environmental educator for 13 years under UVI, Eastern Caribbean Center. And I'm say this to say that since I've stopped that program and moved on to Vitran, most of our youths today do not understand about the environment and how sensitive our environment is, and how to maintain a healthy environment. And it's not offered in school no more since I have left.
When we go to the BVI and you visit islands, down islands, you see how ownership has become and made some of those islands really grow. Key to that is ensuring that the people who live on the islands own and reinvest, because the most likely, if you live in a place, when you get successful, you're going to buy a home there, you're going to send your kids to school there, you're going to buy furniture, cars, whatever it is, entertainment. So it's very important for Virgin Islanders to grow up and be educated, that they too can own a piece of the rock and leave a legacy of ownership. So at Junior Achievement, we teach financial literacy, workplace readiness, and entrepreneurship. So it's kind of like a 3-foot chair that allows you to have some kind of sustainable income and manage it once you become an adult.
Scholarship alone, the cost to go to school today is outrageous, and all it's doing is growing. It's getting higher and higher. So that gives young people something to look forward to. You know, I know as a young man myself, initially it was, wow, how am I gonna get to pay for college? You know, and maybe the marina won't do something for everybody, but you know what? Every little bit helps.
But I do know that there are some young people in St. John that need jobs, and they might not have the skill, but anything that they can do, because I've given rides to young men going to Cruise Bay. A couple of times I gave people rides who said that they were going to Cruise Bay to work so that they can go to college, any kind of job that they can get so that they can get some kind of financial help.
Your marina would help give people some kind of empowerment to better themselves. And that's all people need, to show that somebody helping them. The young people here need a hand, somebody to pull them up, because a lot of them are just, there's no hope. They're just hopeless, they're just there.
I'm going to support it for the mere fact that it will give, a alternative for the young people. You see here so often, and in Cruise Bay recently, we've seen that there's so many young people who are just walking the street aimless. And so, the mere fact that they can have a job or do something that they love. I mean, when we think about, the locals here and the opportunities.
If you institute training programs for young people, they can start to familiarize themselves with a craft early. Wherever boats come, boats are going to need repairs. That's the way it works.
With boats, you always got certain time of the year, hurricane season, most people pull their boats out to redo it. Of course, you can't pull out a sailboat in Coral Bay, but small power boats and whatnot, even large power boats, you can pull out on the ramp, on a trailer, bring it down into the yard or whatnot, and do maintenance. What's the maintenance? That's job. Somebody's got to do it.
You bring in an opportunity to support their families, an opportunity to learn a trade. This is an important situation to any family or any young person. You know, you've got to make a living. You got to survive, and this is why you know, the locals are somewhat behind some of them, because it hits the nail on the head. It provides economic opportunity for young people. Other than that, they're going to leave the island in droves, and they have been leaving the island in droves for the last 20, 30 years.
I think you're hitting all the spots where mostly people who haven't been paid that much attention to, which is looking out for the youth, especially because people like me, I'm past that stage where I'm not looking for any work. What would be great though is that some of the young people that grow up here can have an opportunity to stay here, because I know when there was a certain age, it was like you look around and you figure, well, what am I going to do? And it's hard to figure out what you're going to do in Coral Bay at the present time. So until somebody give you a shot or at least put a few opportunities in front of you, you will be lost. Or the only other option you have is to just get up and go.
Many local St. Junian family members, children, have had to leave these islands because jobs aren't available. If this development takes root and everything goes well, then you can train and they can stay. They don't have to leave to go and get training. They can get training for jobs that they like right here in Coral Bay.
For those that don't go away to school, it gives them something to look forward to begin a future on.
And this is an opportunity by having this marina to help some of our children then be able to help run St. John on some level and have something out there. And we put a museum, we put a place that we could have artifacts and show and talk and have people start to do things to say, hey, this is this, this is that. And all of it will go right back into what? Tourism.
With the marina, all these boats and the slips, some of them need captains. Some of them need crew member, you know. Of course, right away, if there's opportunities for captains and crew members, a lot of people is going to start going to St. Thomas to see school to get the STC or the captain's license and come back here with a resume, looking for a job or whatnot. The job opportunities will be there.
It's very important to the Virgin Islands that we exploit our marine resources, and I use exploit in a way because they're severely underutilized. If you take a Google map and you look at the Virgin Islands, St. John especially, and you cut out what's left for the Park Service, there's very little land left in the Virgin Islands to develop, especially in St. Thomas and St. Croix. St. Thomas and St. John. In St. Croix, it's a little better, but when you think about it, we're all surrounded by this beautiful water. And we have not really trained the workforce or used the facility of the water to the capacity of its extent, whether that's in fishing, scuba, marinas, or tours, or water tours, whatever. We have to now, as we move forward, not only because of the competition in tourism, but just because of utilizing resources, start to use the marinas and start to incorporate these curriculums in our schools so that our children know about the water and can use that to make a living in this Virgin Islands.
You have a lot of guys that in the fishing industry, a lot of guys that does a planting of different fruits and vegetables. It opens up area for them. It opens up area in a lot of guys that into the marine industry, becoming captains and working on the boats, building boats, cleaning boats, and all of that. It brings a lot of activity into the area.
The natives realize, you know what, everything is changing, and it's time for change, and this change will not just benefit, it'll benefit everyone. Everyone, whether you're directly involved or not directly, you're still gonna benefit. You know, the little small grocery stores are gonna benefit. You know, with the marina, I perceive maybe a laundromat comes about. The folks from Coral Bay no longer have to drive all the way to Cruz Bay. You know, the people in Calabash Boom will now not have to come all the way to town to work. They can work right there in Coral Bay.
Caribbean haven't have a laundromat. We never have a laundromat. The only laundromat it had was a drop-off service at Sputnik. That was years ago when Missy Doriken had Sputnik. Since that lady left, we never had a laundry. We could have go there like half season and wash our clothes.
I don't care how many people it may employ. I'm not thinking of quantity per se. If we get 5-6 persons off the street to work in the community, I believe it will help enhance the community. So it's not about, well, how many people per se, but if we get some folks, local folks off the street, get them involved, I believe it will help us on this side of the island.
The one thing I think that's important, some of the stuff here, the scholarships, the mentorships, the uplifting the economy in Coral Bay, those are the most important things because it affects the people who are from here. You know, it gives them the jobs, gives them the opportunity for their kids to be able to go to school with a start. You know, and that's what everybody wants, some sort of a start, because who knows what happens after you get that first foot in the door.
It should be, to most people, pretty obvious at this point that Coral Bay needs some sort of development. We could debate, you know, at length what that development could look like or should look like, but at the end of the day, it needs something. And I think when we look at context, we can start to understand, you know, where we could start. And I think a marina is a good place to start.
You know, sailing down island, there are harbors that sort of become known, you know, throughout the cruising community as friendly harbors. Those are the ones that get the majority of the boats. Those are the ones that keep the restaurants and the superettes and the vegetable market and those things vibrant in those particular harbors.
We have so much people goes back and forth in these waters. They could come in here, relax, gain their strength to go another journey.
Looking forward to having people come in to the marina and then go to the shops and the restaurants in the area.
It's easy to see when you cross the waters and you look at the BVI. You know, I recently did some statistics over there, and actually 40% of the people that go to the British Virgin Islands don't actually stay in the hotels. They stay on the water in boats. So the first aspect you got to look at in the Virgin Islands, which I always pay attention to, is capacity. And when you look at capacity planning, we haven't had a hotel built in the last 30 years. So here you are looking at expanding the capacity of people who can come from the Virgin Islands, because now you only have rooms on the water and rooms on the land. And rooms on the water are much easier to move around and utilize. The other thing is that we went through considerable problems to make sure that the six-pack law was repealed for the Virgin Islands, and we had special concessions. We have not utilized that. We have not exploited that piece of legislation in any way.
But with a marina, we're gonna have, it's gonna boost the economy, you know, jobs for people. We're gonna have tourists coming now. Instead of going to the BVI and spending all their money in the BVI, it's gonna boost up St. John.
70% of the visitors to St. Thomas have visited the British Virgin Islands on their stay, according to the Bureau of Economic Research statistics. That means that more and more we're seeing the British Virgin Islands as an appendage to the Virgin Islands. You know, our goal should be that people come to the Virgin Islands, the U.S., and visit the British, not the opposite way around. Leveraging the British Virgin Islands as a part of our tourism asset while we expand our capacity in terms of yachting and marina industry is something that we have to do.
You know, I remember, you know, being, you know, 7-8 years old and sailing down here one time and asking my dad why we had to leave Crown Bay Marina and sail past the Virgin Islands, you know, into the BVIs. And, you know, it was usually, well, once we leave St. Thomas, there's, you know, very limited places to anchor a large, you know, vessel. There's no marinas, there's no support. You would bypass here, go through the BVIs and end up in St. Martin, you know, where those services are offered, or in Tortola, in Road Town. And, you know, I always would sort of sail or motor past here and you know, wonder, you know, what it'd be like to be able to actually stay. You know, maybe one night you'd anchor off Lynn Point, and then the next day you would bypass. We would come over into Hurricane Hole by dinghy all the way from Norman Island, I remember, to to enjoy, but never ever ever came into Coral Harbor in 20 some years of boating in the Virgin Islands.
I used to live in Totola. I go there. If I was there last week, I mean, they're doing a great job. What are we doing? I mean, come on now. I mean, if we can use that industry not only to make a living, but have people trained, that's what we need. I think every organization that comes to these shores should have some kind of mentoring. If what you're doing is important, right, and it helps you to make a living, then I think you should also invest in this community. And one of the ways to do that is helping young people, training them, and whatnot. And I think if you do that, I think young people will come back because there's something to come back for.
If you're not providing jobs, for native St. Johnnians, if you don't have the people that have been here and understand the culture and the history filling those positions and relaying that information to tourists and to investors, projects just don't survive.
But make sure that the natives are there present. People come to meet the natives. When they come and just they see another hot dog and hamburger and fries, they're tired of that, man.
I believe it'll only start something to start something else, because there's other things that's going to benefit once that marina is in place, the St. Johnnians on the whole. And many St. Johnnians now are looking for possibilities as them as individuals can economically build themselves. And I believe that the project in Coral Bay would really help that.
Families with, estate and things like that in Coral Bay, this gives them an opportunity for development.
The offset, different things that would come because the marina is here. Other people can, if they capitalize on entrepreneurship, which they will be sharing that, how to do that, how to run your own business, how to piggyback off of what the marina is doing. That'll be so good, I say, because then it's not just what the jobs from the marina, but there are so many other jobs that would be stems from having a marina there that other local people can capitalize on.
Hopefully if there's a new base of clientele that are coming in by boat, then other people in the community can open other support businesses. Again, right now without that boating community, there's a limited number of people that you're catering to. Again, all those people come by road. But with the marina, you're going to have, people that are willing to spend different levels of income. They're going to need different services. Not all of those services are going to be offered, on the marina property itself. It's a great opportunity for people to open, all types of things for, gift shops and other restaurants and marine support services, which, the boating and fishing, has sort of been lost, in St. John, and there's people that want to keep that going, and there's people that want to bring that back, and this would be an opportunity to have now the infrastructure that's necessary to undertake some of these ideas.
Put a little laundromat over there to help the people of Coral Bay. Then we need it definitely.
If I got my retail store, my bar and restaurants, I'm giving work to others. There is employment. Meanwhile, I'll be making my paychecks, I'll be making my money. I go out fishing, come back in at the dock with fresh catch, or take customers out on charters, come back in. It's like my little avenue will be a constant come and go, always packed. With my retail store, with marine products, all the slips are full. Every boat needs shackles, every boat needs rope, fiberglass resin. They need product. A boat is a boat, it needs to be maintained. If I got it, they don't have to go all the way to St. Thomas to get it. They get it right here. Same thing with fishing supplies. Everything is right here, contained. People get jobs.
All of the aspects about it, having a place for fishermen to sell fish, and having a place for the community to gather, and having a potential customs office. It brings so much, not only to the land-based community, but to the boating community as well.
More people, you're gonna need businesses out there. You're gonna need banks. You're gonna need customs. As far as rental owners, when people come on their boat, they've been on the boat for the whole last 2 weeks. They want to get off the boat, whether it be 3 or 4 days. They want to come off the boat for a little bit. So it's gonna bring more people, and more people brings more money to the community.
The plans for the marina incorporate some local activities, fish market, a place for local people to sell some of these things that in order to make a living.
It also brings a farmers market, and that is really helpful for the island of St. John in general and Coral Bay in specific. So it plans to more or less revitalize the area of Coral Bay.
You're going to have trash removal because it's a marina. You're going to have whippers, you may have security guards walking your dock. There's something for locals to do. You may have where yachts come in and looking for captains that know the areas around the Virgin Islands. They can hire local captains that can drive yachts. I mean, where for jobs to grow in summer ends, the potential is there, and they're offering it to the community.
When you live here, you think of St. John being summer all year long, but boaters migrate. You have different levels of boaters that are using the Virgin Islands at different times of the year. Hurricane season obviously being the driving force. Most insurance policies require you to be below a certain latitude during hurricane season, and that's why we see the motor yachts and the cruising sailboat community leave so that they can be down island by June 1st. But behind them is your year-long use of local St. Johnians. Currently myself and others that have boats and want to keep them in a marina have to drive to Cruz Bay, take the barge to St. Thomas, drive to our marina, get in our boat, and by the time we get it back to St. John, it's been 3 hours, and we've spent the majority of our money on St. Thomas. We've picked up provisions, groceries, supplies. We've eaten at a restaurant over on St. Thomas, and that's just to get the boat back here, and we haven't spent a penny. If the local community has their boats there, they're the ones sort of using the area. There's a presence there. There's your sport fishing community, that comes in for a limited time. That's a different size boat and a different need. You have your motor yacht community. It's using this during the charter season that has really nowhere to go once they leave St. Thomas before they hit St. Martin. This is a great stopover for them. Right now they anchor up off of Lynn Point. They rarely come in because there's no restaurants right there in that area. They're just using it because when the flights come in and people board the motor yachts, that's usually as far as they want to go, so they can give their guest some afternoon. But if they could take the South Shore and end up in Coral Bay, better yet, bring their guest all the way over to Coral Bay and have them board the motor yacht there and maybe enjoy a day or two on St. John.
The marine area is prime place for Coral Bay. There's no marina in St. John. As we know, most of the boating community left the VI years ago. The VI suffered economic hardship as they relocated in the BVI for reasons that was more advantageous for it to be there. And now we have had the 6-pack rule changed, and it's ripe for marine activity.
I think that maybe other local people with boats would prefer that they can come into Coral Bay. I mean, there's no place in Cruz Bay, and as a matter of fact, when we do have family coming from the States, and let's say he used to leave from St. Thomas with his boat, and he had to pick them up on St. John to take them out, then there's no place you can pick them up in Cruz. You go to the national park, you used to complain about it. You have to get in there and out real fast because there's no, and the people just have to get onto the boat real quickly because it's not meant for pickup, I guess, of passengers.
Well, in all of St. John, let me think. Do we have one marina here? Do we have one marina? Okay, so even if you're in a marina in St. Thomas and you decide you want to go to St. John, you don't have a choice. I mean, you might be able to anchor out somewhere around the national park area for overnight or whatever. But I would think that another marina, at least over on this side, would be a big benefit. If not for all the islands, at least it would be a benefit for the people in Coral Bay. You'd bring in a few more. Well, hopefully paying guests or whatever. People with a few more dollars in their pocket. It has to benefit the area.
You know, they say, "Oh, I want to come see you on my boat. You know, what's the best marina in St. John?" And when you explain to them that there isn't one, they look at you as if like you're joking with them. And then, well, no, there's got to be one. You know, I know there is not a place to tie up in St. John. So everyone says, well, you know, I guess, you know, I'll be at Red Hook or American Yacht Harbor, you know, or I have to go over to the BVI's. You know, there's so much more than just the sailing community. There's the sport fishing community. There's the motor yacht community. You know, so many different types of people that can bring so many different things. You know, most importantly, the economics. You know, what they're willing to spend on not only the dockage but the fuel and the provisions and the restaurants. You know, when I go sailing, it's normally for a very short period of time. You know, not necessarily willing to cook those 3 or 4 days that I go. I like the access to restaurants and things like that. And you know, on the east end of St. John, you know, it's very limited. So you go over to the BVI's, and you know, every harbor has its own you know, set of bars and restaurants and places to you know, enjoy nightlife.
Other people can set up shop, gift stores or whatever, and they can be serviced by these boaters coming off of the vessels that will visit us. If you have stores here, you know, you open up again. This is all piggybacking on this development. Also, when you look at visitors coming, you can decide what service you can offer. Is it a restaurant that you can open that would cater to them? There's so many ways that you can benefit. So the project lends itself to a whole other different type of businesses that you can develop for these people. You might want to have a hotel, not a hotel, but a small villa that you can be leasing to people coming in who don't want to stay on the boat that night. They want to stay on land. So there's a whole lot that can be done. And as I said, there's a whole lot of business directly connected with this project. So much offshoots that you can create for yourself.
The whole marina project will open St. John to many more possibilities as far as and you're right. If there is a marina and people know that they can do sport fishing and all of those things, then the villas will benefit tremendously. I don't think there's a villa owner who would complain if we had a marina on St. John.
It also trickles out into, you know, that Coral Bay economy also, because if then this marina goes up and then these yachters come, even smaller boats, you get people, you know, visiting the facility, then they want to visit the area around it. So it kind of becomes this, you know, ripple effect where the marina is planted, the development, you know, comes to life, and then it brings the area around it to life also.
What's more important is to describe the project as how it's important to the Virgin Islands. When you look at the last 20 years of Virgin Island history, we've lost banking, finance, alumina, oil, distillation, light manufacturing, watchmaking. We have to create new industries in the Virgin Islands, and a lot of those industries are going to depend on our tourism product. And when you look at how much finite space we have, especially on St. John, we have to look at what's going to give us the most bang for our buck. We have to start to attract the type of tourists that can spend the money that would allow Virgin Islands to earn living wages. You know, a marina project is something like that. You know, millions of dollars on boats and stuff that come in the industry, and lots of people who enjoy that. You know, it's not exactly the sport of paupers. Those are the types of things that we need to do as we plan our tourism future and a strategy for what our tourism map is going to look 10 to 20 years from now. We're going to have to get sustainable tourism. That's a better tourism product for a higher value client for better jobs for the Virgin Islands.
I believe in a oneness of a community. And if something is going to come into my community that is going to draw us closer together, I think that puts the icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned. Not only are we going to have a company that produces money, jobs for my community. We have a company that wants to train and mentor our community, especially the young ones. And in its doing what it's doing, it's bringing people together, bringing the community together. I think that's a win-win in every area that you can turn. Because you have jobs, you have training, you have a community coming together. I think that's what it is. That's what it should be.
I perceive, given what I know about Summer's End Project, I perceive that this can begin to turn that around. Meaningful economic activity, proper inclusion of local people. Because conceivably, you can have that project and you can use people who are visiting, itinerant, this, that, and the other, and justify to the government that you're only using them because they have the skill and you couldn't find the skill around. If you take the position on the other hand, we're going to give people meaningful training to do the jobs that we need done. So that if another marina comes or another boating activity comes, they would have acquired skills that they can then transfer to the other company in support of this economy. I look at the possibility of you all having a significant effect on the demographics. There's nothing that precludes St. Thomas young people from coming here if they have an interest in the marine industry to learn and hone their craft. And to move here eventually because it's more convenient to be living here than to be living somewhere else. And the same for Crucian youngsters.
The way I understand someone, and that's what they want to do. They want us to become more sufficient for ourselves. Not to handle something, but give us the way to create something that we can provide for ourselves and maintain our dignity. And that's the reason I love this project. It's a hands-on project. We're going to work to this together to not just develop for you, but also for us. So, like I say, I'm behind this project 100%.
I want to see families be able to make a living and stay in Coral Bay if they so wish. Not have to come to Cruz Bay, not have to go to St. Thomas. Some opportunities, some are going to go. There's no question about it. Some are going to go. But things should be available in a place where you live.
Number one, the roads are in a mess. You really can't go and walk on the beach as you used to. But if there's something that causes you to be able to walk there and enjoy it, as far as I'm concerned, that's an improvement. And I think that would help. It can't be any worse than what it is right now. It cannot be any worse than what it is right now. If it is, then we're in trouble.
And then they might, even that by that they might think on repairing the roads. You know, because right now they don't care nothing about Coral Bay. The government don't care nothing about Coral Bay. I would say so. I tell them some of the big ones when they're talking, I say, you know what Coral Bay is? Like how St. John is. St. John's like a stepchild to St. Thomas. And Coral Bay is a stepchild to Cruz Bay. Nobody don't care nothing about Cruz Bay. I mean about Coral Bay. It's hard. It's hard.
Now watch this. The eastern end of the island is all the way, well, you know where Easton is. It's all the way over there on the eastern end, very far out. We have young people that have to come from there into Coral Bay in the mornings sometimes to catch a bus to go from there to school in Cruz Bay.
You don't send tender age children out of their neighborhoods. That's insanity.
Just not too long ago, they closed down Guy Benjamin School, which was Benjamin Franklin School. And I think that was so bad because, you know, that place has just been a landmark for, you know, for this island, and to close it down and don't really have anything, as far as I could see, I don't see anything coming up that's going to make it landmark again. I mean, Guy Benjamin, you know, is good. He's a native person, and it was named after him.
What I am truly concerned about is whose home is it now? The people who came and have adopted or have been adopted by the community, or the people who were raised there who can trace their generation way back.
It's something that we, the locals, have preserved for others to enjoy. But in that bay, there's no appreciation for what we have preserved or what God has preserved, because the people take advantage of it and they don't move their boats. So it's filthy and nasty.
Right now, the people that are there don't want to contribute or do anything meaningful to St. John, for the island, for the community.
It's very sad, and to say that they represent the St. Johnians, no, they do not. All those people from wherever, I doubt they even know how many families, local families we have on island. And they're only going by what they read, or somebody send them and said, oh, you know, we have a group here that want to take over and we fighting them. Oh yes, no, we got to stop that. They really don't know the locals.
So I think it's selfish and some people's part that they don't want to see any activity. That means they don't want to see people live out there who needs to make a living. Coral can't be only for people who have already made it. You know, people who have retired. It's unfair. It's unfair not to provide opportunities for people who wants to be there. People who have owned the land, owned property from God knows when. You know, it's unfair. Give everybody opportunity. You know, it's nothing. It's nothing that the marina gonna do, proposed marina gonna do that's gonna destroy the quality of life. It's gonna improve the quality of life. And a lot of times we say, for who?
The people that are abusing the water are people who come here and say how beautiful the place is, and how much they love the Virgin Islands, and then they turn around and do the abusing.
When I compare Coral Bay to what I knew Coral Bay and that region to be, it's dead. Our people live now virtually without hope. We're holding on to some minor straws. The principal ones of which would be, well, I own my property, I own my own home, or something like that. But in terms of the quality of life, we are way short. In terms of the economic activity, way short.
They feel like they lost everything, you know. It's demoralizing.
Taxes is too high. You can't go any place unless you pay double. You gotta pay to go across the water. You gotta pay for your food on the boat. You gotta pay each package. Everything is costly. So the tourists come, okay, it's a hardship for them for 2 weeks, they're gone. We have to deal with it every single day. So I don't see my generation really profiting at all in St. John. And it's sad because here I am struggling to make sure I keep what my ancestors had. And I'm like, they may not even be able to hold on to it.
People who even live in here like 3 or 4 years, they're 100% against it. Why? I mean, Coral Bay ain't supposed to get nothing.
Whoever overseeing this marina need to take a deep backtrack and where those letters coming from, that the people who opposing that marina and what they're doing in St. John and Coral Bay. Because they're keeping us native people down. They're keeping us down. And we want something in Coral Bay to help the children them to have a head start.
Now, St. John is a beautiful island, but we have a major part of St. John protected through the national park. I don't think it's fair to shut down the rest of the island for that purpose. I think there are people here on this island who would love to see the national park owning all of it as long as they can live in the national park. But that's not fair, and that's not the right thing to do, because the Congress of the United States, I believe, recognized the need of the people here and left major parts of the island open to fishing, which was part of our lifestyle, our traditional fishing. But they're slowly closing down that also.
You know, as someone that's an outsider, you know, that's been here for, you know, almost 8 years now, and even coming here as a child, you know, I don't have the pulse that a native St. Johnian does in terms of sort of the social and historic aspects.
And it's important that we maintain our traditions to carry them on. Again, it all goes back to tourism, because the tourists come for what? The culture. They want to meet the real people, they want to eat the real food and learn about the real things, how you guys used to live up to now, and what are you maintaining? What are you keeping? This is why it's important to keep the coal pot. You might use an iron pot, but it's the same idea. You put the coal in there, you light it up, and you get your fish going, you get your conch going, whatever you got.
You know, people come here for the beauty, but they also come here for the history and the culture, whether that's sailing or fishing or hiking or, you know, the rich history that the Virgin Islands has. Once that's lost, you know, not only will the people living here, but those visiting here, they'll start to go elsewhere.
When you get rid of the native people, then there is no longer a native culture and a native heritage. You can't have non-natives here and expect to have a native culture.
A lot of times you look at the what's happening around here and you say, well, what does the local own? You know, and we talk about, we call the people by name, really. That we could talk about what they own in terms of their homes, but they don't, you know, the businesses, they are lacking, and, you know, they don't really, they need to, I don't know what it's going to take for, especially, well, except for the fact that maybe they can lease their land, or, you know, I wouldn't want to say sell it anymore. They can probably lease the land and probably become successful doing that. But running businesses, I don't know. I don't know if they own any of those things now.
A lot of these people out there who used to live on the boats and nearby the harbor, they complain, oh, it's too much trees and it's too much sediment running into the... You guys are building, you didn't realize that? Now you done built, you don't want nobody else to come in. Well, we're here and we're going to be here and we're going to always be here. You got to give us a piece of the pie. You can't come in and build up and have your thing and you say, St. John need to stay just like that now. Where are we? Where are we at? How do we fit in? It's only for you guys? No, this is ours too. It's not just for one set of people, it's for all of us. And for it to be of all of us, we need to make sure we have our culture involved there. We don't mind you guys adding a few things, but don't take over to the extent where you can't see us or hear us. St. Johnians, black people need to be a part of that too.
Right now, when tourists come to Coral Bay, St. John, if they don't speak to the donkeys, they don't see us. We're not there. And to the extent that we are still living there, most people are scrounging.
All the newcomers need to respect whoever they meet there before, and they're coming into St. John, they need to say, hey, you know what? We meet these people here, man. We got to respect them. We can't just come in here and just ride over them, and next thing you know, we got this guy, he's a guy to take them around to show them St. John. This one is telling them about the endangered species, he's telling them about the plants. What is St. Johnians? What they do? What do they do? You know what I'm saying? And this is why scene is being dissolved. We're not defending or being St. Johnians or Virgin Islanders in the fullest. We keep being pushed aside and they're putting something else. They're trying to erase our culture.
So I guess I can see that some people would just be happy if all the local St. Johnians just disappeared.
You are going to stop them from their traditional ways because you have been here for one generation or less. I think that's unfair, and I think it's wrong. And I think that the Corps of Engineers or whomever, whatever government agency that makes the decision in support of these folks is wrong. Let the people of St. John And when I say the people of St. John, I am not against the folks who have moved here and made a life for themselves here. But those that try to stop the other person from making a living here are the ones that I'm talking about. The people who come and tell you, oh, I worked in New York in the Coastal Zone Commissions, and why didn't you stop in New York? Why didn't you stop in New York? Why come to St. John, this little island of 19 square miles, to try to prevent the people from living on this island, the people you found here when you came? Because basically that's what they're doing, you know.
The culture was more family oriented. Everybody knew everybody. Now when you pass Coral Bay, you don't know anybody. You know, unless you're going to church or around some of your people who you knew or family, you don't know anybody.
The rest of the people around here, I just don't know them. I don't know what they do. Maybe if I talk about it to more of the local St. Junians, they might, sometimes they do tell me. But I don't know what they are doing to help the people, and then they don't want anything to change. And I am looking for change because I want to see our people stick around. People they just don't care about us anyway, really.
Well, they represent a certain segment of the community. That's the community they represent. Because they do not represent the majority of the blacks in this community. We go to these meetings and we voice our opinion, and it just goes over everybody's head. So after a while, you don't get anybody going because it's like nobody listened to you. Yes, they represent a certain segment of the community, not the locals, the native locals. Because we want a marina. It has to have some kind of check and balance going on in that water. And right now, as far as I understand, they don't want a marina. They want it status quo like how it is. Yes, freely go, freely come. Pollution, who cares? I'm not smelling it, I'm way up on the top of the hill.
One of the issues that I find with the people that complain about things happening on St. John is many of those people already have the things that they want in place, but they don't want anybody else to put something else in place. And I always tell them, you have to be fair. If we open the door for people to come here to do villas, why can't we open the door for someone to come and do a marina?
I want it to be right. I want balance. I want to know your generation, my generation, everybody's generation could come here and enjoy it and still feel a part. You know what I'm saying? You can't set up where you just want to have your own little thing. What you creating, man? What's going on here? And then next thing you're going to do is part off, we're going to have gates. We can't come in or go through unless.
You say you have a business community, but each segment of that community is only concerned about its own affairs. And that's a bit ridiculous. So we're disjointed. And what the people who think that they're doing okay in Coral Bay now need to do is get together so that everybody can do okay. And they don't seem inclined to do that. What they've done is the gates were open to them, and as soon as they got in, they're closing the gates. And they want them to remain shut. So they're building new fortifications. I've seen some of those promotions, and I'm not impressed at all because they can't save Coral Bay without saving the people, and they're not seeking to save the people. And I mean the indigenous people. Rather, you're trying to buy all their lands, sometimes fraudulently, and then when you get the land, you're trying to preclude the former uses of the land and all kinds of nefarious things. So maybe they're trying to build it to a point so that when you get to Bordeaux, you'll have a big iron gate, and you have to have identification to go past that.
We are the native people here. We have to have place to live. So I don't know why. I don't know. It's really annoying, disgusting, stressful, and everything in one.
The marina needs to be there, and I would advise anybody Corps of Engineer, anyone who listening to me, to put a marina in. These people have no interest in the local, have no interest absolutely for the local.
You know, I think it's very, very important to have a marina in Coral Bay. It's very important. It's important to the territory. It's important to the borders who go between the U.S. Virgin Islands and the British Virgin Islands. It's important to the enforcement agencies that have the responsibility for stopping illegal entrance into the United States. I think all of these things come into play.
You have to appreciate that over the past 5-6 decades, we have been a people where people came with all kinds of promises, and none of them ever redundant significantly to our advantage. And so when you begin, people are very skeptical. Summers End is different because we have encountered the principals who have shown themselves willing to be a part of this community truly. They're not capitalists seeking for profit. They're members of our churches. They engage in social activity. They do all the things that make you want to embrace them as you perceive they are seeking to embrace you.
We can see what's good because we have seen what happened in the past. We have seen those who truly care about us, and therefore that's why we would support this, because it is so beneficial. It gives back to the community. It gives back to our young people. It gives back to a community that really needs revitalization.
The marina development, yeah. In that area, all the folks were basically family members.
And most families on St. John, like my grandfather, the Richards and the Sprouts, were interconnected. So how I saw the project in Coral Bay as being important is because that's going to give that particular family, just like Susannaburg is now giving my family, this 160 acres is giving my family an opportunity to be economically in a much better position than they were in 10, 15, 20 years ago. That's going to give the Clendenin family and the other families that are connected to them a resource that could probably be for the rest of their life.
Yeah, I'm definitely for Coral Bay receiving economic stimulus, good positive development, and I think a project like this would be a really nice place to start.
We need to let the Jonian feel that they are as much as important as the people in St. Croix and the people of St. Thomas, and I guess, ensuring that, their heritage is preserved and they have, a sense that, this is their home. And I think once you create that, then people are going to be happy and they're going to have, a sense that, I belong here. And they don't feel like, these foreigners coming to, why should we foreigners coming to, push them out, but, here is their home.
We need our young people to go away and get an education and understand our possibilities and bring that back. But we also have people who come here with vast amount of information and education and training from different areas. And I tell them, as long as you come with the mindset to make it better, don't tell us what we don't know. We know what we don't know. I tell people in meetings all the time, St. Jonians know what we don't know. But when you come with a resource of information, please share it. Help us make St. John better.
We are 100% with Summers End. It brings relief to the Coral Bay community.
I believe that will enhance the community, or the community. But if it is left the way it is right now, it is causing more and more pollution, right? And it's not helping the community. We need something that is going to help not only to produce work for people, but something that has rules and at the same time help the community. And based upon what the questions you're asking me, if there is such a company that can come here not only to produce work for the community, but to keep the environment friendly, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
I believe that most of the locals who go to Meridian Church, we have gotten to know you. We love you. You speak up and tell us frankly what's going on. Where in the other group, we have sometimes not so true information coming to us. So it's hard for you to make out where they're coming from. From what I can see and hear from the church group, since that is my church, they're welcoming the marina, the Summers Marina.
The fact is that when Summer Inn came to us, they live among us. They found out who we were, and they love us who we were. They didn't just come and say, well, we just need your signature and this is what we're going to do. They actually live among us, see what the problem was, try to understand the problem, and come to help us to rectify the problem. And that's the difference. That's why we support this marina. It's about the people first before money.
By mentoring, by providing jobs, by keeping the environment clean, I believe I would say to the engineers, please, let's get on with it. Because it is something that's a win-win for us. It's going to build community, it's going to bring community together, it's going to provide jobs, it's going to keep the environment stable and better. And I want in my lifetime to see that. I want to be able to enjoy that myself. I am 61 and I'm looking forward to a time when I can walk my wife along the pathways and enjoy what is there. But again, there needs to be rules. It cannot remain the same, because remaining the same right now is more in the negative than it is positive. And something positive, we need something positive in Coral Bay, something that's going to bring the environment up, bring people together, provide jobs, helping young people, helping our community. That's what I would say.
Very few people do what you have done. You involve the community. You want to hear from your community. You want to hear what they think of what you're doing. So you started a lot of legwork that many project developers have not done.
And I like the group that's involved, yourself and everybody else, because you include us. The locals want to be included. All of us are not as articulate as me, as I am, but they still want to be included. They want to feel like they're part of the change that's good, especially when that change is going to really benefit St. John. So I'm seeing that the group, your group, does that. You reach out all the time with a friendly face, and you want our input, and that makes me feel good. So I will be a voice for anyone on St. John for your organization because of how well you support people's dream of St. John being one of the smallest but best islands in the area. So I'm honored to be even doing this presentation, because it's in line with what I'm doing here with this Susannaburg project, making sure our young people and our older people have something that they can always say it's ours, and they can benefit from it.
Oh, I'll tell them they all are beautiful people who wants to help the community, who wants to help Coral Bay, who wants to help the young people to make a better life for themselves. And we're looking forward for that. I'm proud of you and Shirley's very much, and I love you all, guys. You all have my blessing, okay?
First of all, let me say that when I hear about Coral Bay and St. John, I become very emotional. I love this island. I love Coral Bay. And I don't like what I see happening. For 40 years, there has been talk about having a marina in Coral Bay. When I was growing up, There was nobody living on a boat in Coral Bay. Coral Bay, Eastern, Hurricane Hole, none of those places had people living on the boat. We had boats that transported our goods, but they didn't live on them. Today I see people living on boats, and they don't ever move the boats. So I know what's going into the water, okay? If there was a marina, they could easily leave the boats and do those same things on land. So I know that it's not good what's going on out there in the bay. All of the marine life that was there that we collected to keep us alive are prohibited today because of these people. We cannot, I will not eat something out of that bay today. And that is not because of a marina, it's not because of what we have done to the island, but the people who have moved here and live on boats, and I don't have anything against people living on boats, but follow the rules. And as long as we don't enforce the rules in St. John, this will get worse. We need to have a marina which can be monitored easily, where we can have enforcement, where we can have the government can do their job to protect our environment. The ocean belongs to the people of the Virgin Islands, not a few people who move here and decide that they want to make a lot of money by renting to these people, and then these folks say that they love what they see. That's not the whole picture, because the people who depended on these bays and this ocean are not benefiting from the revenue generated by these homes. And these are the people that are objecting to any improvement in Coral Bay. They have established their little niche in the community, and they're trying to prevent others.
And I'm hoping that if this question comes up in 20 years, that a group of young St. Johnians will be the ones testifying to the real impact, the difference it made in their lives, and the difference it makes for St. John. I think what you're doing is necessary. I support it wholeheartedly, and I think it's going to have a unifying effect in the Virgin Islands, British and American. Sometimes we need things, but we don't always know what we need. And I'm hoping that the politicians and the people at large would miss an opportunity to do something important for themselves.